Google just released the technical report for its new model, Gemini 3.1 Pro. Normally, a .1 update means a bug fix, a slight optimization. But buried inside this report, there's a sentence that should grab everyone's attention. This is not a rounding error. This is a statistical anomaly that reshuffles the current AI hierarchy. Today, we're not talking about Google's corporate strategy. We're talking about one thing only: raw performance. Because Gemini 3.1 Pro doesn't just improve on its predecessor. It scores 77.1% on the ARC AGI-2 benchmark. For reference, version 2.0 Pro scored 31%. This isn't an iteration, it's a mutation. And yet, there's a catch. Let's start with what's immediately obvious. Google is offering a 1 million token context window here. That's become standard, you might say. But look at the price. At 5 cents per $1 million input tokens, Gemini 3.1 Pro is literally 7 times cheaper than Claude Opus 4.6. This is a pricing offensive. Google is essentially telling you, we're going to give you frontier model performance at lightweight model prices. And benchmark after benchmark, that promise seems to hold. Out of 16 major tests, Gemini wins 13. Mathematics, logical reasoning, visual understanding. On paper, the match is over. But here's where it gets interesting. The real innovation here is adjustable thinking levels. Instead of having a model that always thinks at maximum capacity, or one that always responds instantly, you get a slider: low, medium, high. It's as if Google admitted that sometimes you need a quick answer, and sometimes you need the model to sit down and think for 30 seconds. It's the precautionary principle applied to compute consumption. You don't pay for brain power you're not using. However, and I need to be transparent here, raw power isn't everything. So the question becomes, why would you use anything else? The answer, I think, lies in the things that are harder to measure with standard benchmarks. If Gemini 3.1 Pro wins on breadth, Claude Opus 4.6 still wins on depth. On the GPQA Diamond benchmark, the test that simulates PhD-level questions, and on complex iterative coding tasks, Claude keeps the edge. Gemini is excellent at solving the problem on the first try, but Claude still seems to have that slight advantage when it comes to navigating ambiguity or managing massive code bases without losing its way. It's the difference between a brilliant student who memorized the textbook and a senior engineer who has intuition. That said, the immediate integration of Gemini into GitHub Copilot and the CLI is a game changer for developers in their daily workflow. I'm not sure what to make of the fact that a model at this price point can compete with the most expensive frontier models. It suggests that barriers to entry are collapsing faster than expected. The measurement tools are starting to break. We can no longer distinguish models by simple scores alone. This 133-page report tells us one thing: reasoning performance is no longer a luxury, it's a commodity. Gemini 3.1 Pro isn't perfect, but it's impossible to ignore. If you want to keep following all of this as it happens, you know where to find me.